Good morning, everyone. We're ready to kick off our second Wake Up West Coast of the program year. I love hearing all the networking happening. It's so hard to break all of that up. We'll make sure we get back to that in just a little bit here. But good morning, everyone. My name is Britt Delo. I am the Vice President of Strategic Initiatives at the West Coast Chamber, and I am thrilled to welcome you all here this morning. Thank you so much for being here. And also, thank you to those who are joining virtually this morning as well. We're glad you could join us. So to kick things off, we'd like to give some thank yous to our sponsors this morning. So first, if you haven't yet, please stop by their table before you leave today. We have AAC Credit Union as our morning mingle sponsor. Thank you, Tom, and the AAC crew. Please join me in thanking them. And then our program sponsor for today. I'd like to give a big thank you to JR Automation. We have Justin Barkle here this morning, the VP of Application Engineering. Actually, Justin and I go way back. We were swimmers in high school together, so it was fun to catch up with him again this morning. Haven't seen him in a long time, so that's always fun. So we're gonna watch a quick video, and then we're gonna hear some remarks from Justin. So please turn your attention to the screen.
All right. Good morning. So as Britt mentioned, we do go way back, but it's a pleasure to be here to introduce kind of what we have going on this morning. As she mentioned, I'm Justin Barkle, Vice President of Applications Engineering for JR Automation. So thank you for having us, and it's a pleasure to be here this morning, and thank you to the West Coast Chamber for the opportunity to sponsor today's event. We chose to share the opening video, which is great. Thanks, Christine, for creating the hype videos for JR. It's always a pleasure to see what comes out of our marketing group. But we chose to share that with you because, like many companies here, we're proud to show the innovation that our teams create for our customers every day. And what you saw in the video is just a short example of what we see every day. We're happy to give the behind-the-scenes data to the West Coast Chamber, and that allows us to showcase not only what we're working on, but really the innovation that we're working on that we can share amongst all of the other companies and customers that are also represented here. We're happy to give this behind-the-scenes insight and feedback to Lakeshore Advantage, which helps facilitate the economic growth and prosperity for this great community. This great community is where JR was founded, and we currently operate 6 of roughly our 20 facilities globally. So West Michigan, West Coast is definitely near and dear to our hearts. Each year, our team appreciates and learns from the data-driven insights from Jennifer, and the information that they share with us helps us create and kind of morph where our business is headed, so we appreciate that. And I'm confident that you'll appreciate and get value out of today's presentation. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Britt.
Thank you again to Justin and the JR Automation team for sponsoring this morning. We really, truly appreciate what you guys do for our community. All right, so now before we get to the program today, we're going to be doing some table networking. So I know you love to chat. I heard you a little bit ago. Let's get back to it. To kick things off, please just share your name, your company, and what you're looking forward to most this fall, or what you enjoy doing in the fall season. So make sure you get around the whole table and take a few minutes to get to know each other. think I need it. Are you ready to turn it on? Well, I want to turn it off. Actually, it's on. All right, I hope everyone had a chance to get around the table and get to know each other a little bit better. I know it's a ton of fun. I promise we'll get back to it again at the end. Because now it is time for the main event of today. So it is my pleasure this morning. You're in for such a treat. I'm so excited to introduce Jennifer Owens, president of Lakeshore Advantage. And a couple of accolades I want to throw out there, recent accolades. Jennifer was the community cocktail winner. Can I get a little round of applause for that? Ton of fun at Tulip. It'll be on the menu all year, so get over there and try it if you haven't yet. And Jennifer was also our Icon Award winner this year at our annual award celebration. And Jennifer's truly a powerhouse for our community. She's action-oriented, she's a visionary, she really gets it done. And she has such a positive impact on our region. And to top it all off, she is just a genuine, authentic leader who is thoughtful and kind. So we are so lucky to have her here in our community and so excited to hear her insights this morning. So please join me in welcoming Jennifer Owens.
I think this is working. I'll put, you want to take that back? Yeah.
2 mics.
All right, cool. Well, thanks, Britt. It was interesting. I have a couple of leaders from outside the region who came in today, the Holland area, like didn't understand the connection we had with the chamber. And I got to tell you, our team is an extended member of the chamber's team and vice versa. So we work with our 7 chambers throughout the region to make sure we're not replicating anything. We're working together. We're lifting each other up. And it really is an honor to have that strong partnership. So thank you so much to the chamber team for all you do. You are amazing, #1 in the country. I still say that. I don't like this top 3 stuff. So, no, they are #1. So today I get a chance to go through our industry trends report with you. And honestly, this is the first time anyone is going to see this data, so you guys get a sneak peek. It will be released later today. But I wanted to make sure everyone knew who Lakeshore Advantage was. So we're really the economic development organization for Allegan and Ottawa County. Now, what does that mean? You know, a lot of people, economic development, what is this? I am not an economist, let me say that. I play one on TV every once in a while, but that's definitely not what I do. So essentially what we do is make sure we have a vibrant business base and our community is thriving. #1 is grow. We want to grow our existing community, but also grow in the way that is right for the community. Growth for growth's sake doesn't make sense, so we partner with our local units of government to determine how they want to grow and come alongside these companies that export goods and services out of the region and help them be healthy and growing. We also plan. We plan for the future, for what is not here, what challenges we're facing. And I'll talk about that later today, some of the challenges. And then we solve. There are problems that come our way all the time from existing companies or community leaders. And so we collaborate and we bring together lots of different organizations to be the easy button. You know, that Staples easy button, really for those companies, so they don't need to know where to look. They can call us and we'll help them succeed. And so we rely really heavily on our chambers, our service providers, all our different partners to make sure that we're at the table. And can solve those challenges. So today, what am I going to talk about? #1, local. What's the local landscape? It's amazing to me because our team goes inside all kinds of companies that, you know, I'll drive by and I'll say, you know, they do this, they do that. And an average person going by would have no idea what makes up our local economic landscape. Who are the employers driving our economy and what do they look like? So I'm going to talk about that. And then what are our forecasts for population and job growth? Secondly, key insight and industry trends. So the data I'm going to share with you today is 120 one-on-one conversations with existing CEOs. We go through a very structured process, and today I'm going to share the trends over the last year. And then finally, what do we see are barriers to growth for the region? But guess what? For each one of our biggest barriers, there's some great strides forward. So I think it's really important to highlight some of those strides forward. I can't get to all of the organizations that are doing great things, but I'm going to kind of share a few of those. So let's go through the economic landscape. Now, I really think this should have been a tiara yacht. So David, Slickers, where are you? I gotta put a tiara yacht up there in a way. And But what is the landscape like overall? Honestly, economic landscapes are up and down. But the great thing about this community is usually it's pretty consistent because of the diversity of our economic base. So why is it so consistent? Well, I would say, and I want to make sure everyone knows, we are driven by manufacturing. We are 3 times more concentrated than the national average with manufacturing employment. And that is amazing. 40% of our gross regional product, that's the services and the goods and everything we develop, are a direct contribution to manufacturing. So we make things here, we design them, we develop them, and we continue to evolve them over time. And so manufacturers are really going to continue to drive our region's future. And I love that. And what I want to do right now, and I'm sure not everyone knows, this is Manufacturing Week this week. So this is a chance to really celebrate our manufacturers and the contributions they give to our community. So I'm going to ask anyone who is employed by a manufacturing firm, please stand up and let's give them a round of applause. I see JR, Gentex, DeWise. When I looked at the list, there were 13 different manufacturing companies represented here today. So I think a few people were a little shy and didn't stand up, but I'm gonna call on you. So that is so important that manufacturers who are making products take their time to come here and learn and educate. And that's another difference about this community is our manufacturers show up and they're part of the community overall. I also wanna mention that we are working really closely with our schools and our educational institutions to get our students into manufacturers. Part of Manufacturing Week this week is actually student tours. So I see Shayna over there from Career Line Tech Center. Shayna shared with me this week, is it this week alone or the month? The month. 3,000 kids in the Ottawa Intermediate School District will go inside manufacturers and see inside. And that's what we have to continue, giving those kids the sneak peek, the look. So our educational leaders, who are amazing and who are doing so much, partnering with manufacturers and education, I also want them to stand up because they are just really the unheralded heroes of our community. So can our education leaders also stand up to thank them for those tours? So again, look, our educators are here. You don't find that in a lot of communities where our educators show up, our superintendents, our technology centers. Again, that's what makes us so special, and we're really grateful for that. And if you see a teacher or an educator, superintendent, thank them. They do some of the best work in the country, and we're really grateful to partner with them. So now, let me get into some of the data initially. So one of the things our team also does each year, and we provide this information to our counties for their bond rating, we collect a list of our local largest employers in the region. So these are the biggest employers in Allegan and Ottawa County. The counties use this data. We use it as well to show what are growth trends. Do we have a diverse base overall? So I'm gonna ask you to shout out, who do you think, let's just say top five largest manufacturing employers in the region. And let me give you a hint, one of them has a table here right now. Gentex? What? Hayworth? Miller Knoll? Can't call him Herman Miller anymore. I'm working on that, yeah. JR Automation? Perigo? LG, okay. You guys are sharp. Okay, number 1, Gentex. Gentex is over here, awesome. Again, Gentex shows up, they're engaged, they're involved. Gentex is not just an automotive company, they are a technology company. They are integrating cutting-edge technology products that go inside our vehicles. So for those of you who have not been inside Gentex, of which I get a privilege of doing that, it is clean room manufacturing. It is cutting edge, and we're so grateful to have Gentex kind of driving the way. The rest of the top 5, now there's a couple you didn't mention. Obviously, they're not Holland Zeeland area. Shake Corporation, another great automotive, metal products related, and Magna as well. So I heard all of the other ones, but Magna is also automotive mirrors, automotive products, and then Perrigo. For those of you who know, Perrigo is pharmaceutical generic drugs. I don't know if you know this, but Perrigo makes enough ibuprofen in 1 year here locally to wrap around the world 8 times. That's a lot, right? So I use it quite a bit, got a lot of headaches. And it's all manufactured right here. So keep having those headaches and our region will be strong. So the rest of the top 10, there are a few that you didn't mention, and actually LG is not on that list of the top 10. They're close. JR Automation. So JR, thank you for sponsoring right here. They round up our top 10. And the other 3 are actually food processors, which is quite a growing industry here in this region. So for those who don't know, JBS, they're meat packaging and processing. Tyson, food manufacturing sandwich bowls. They make the Jimmy Dean sandwich bowls. They make most of the Jimmy John's turkey as well for Jimmy John's. Tyson is growing. And then Request Foods. So for those who don't know Request Foods, you probably wouldn't because they can't put their label on anything. But let me tell you, how many of you enjoy Stouffer's lasagna? They make it there. I love actually the Costco lasagna as well with the Italian sausage. So what Request Foods does is a lot of those pre-prepared ready meals. So when you drive by there and it smells so good, it's all the things that very busy parents are making when they come home. Very great family style meals. So Request Foods as well is growing. So when you look at this, you see there's a diversity of our manufacturing base, which is great. So if you look at Detroit region, probably overall, these will all be automotive, right? And so what I love about our list also is we've got food, automation, automotive, pharmaceutical. So what that means, and it's really important, one of our roles is to make sure we have a diverse base of manufacturers. So that list is something to be proud of and to help continue to grow. But honestly, most of our team's time is not spent working with these larger companies. It's also spent with the small businesses. So 80% of the growth in this region will come from companies of less than 50 employees. So our large corporations give back, they are growing, but it's our small businesses that'll drive the future of our region. And so our team wants to make sure our small businesses continue to grow and are successful. And so we work at early stage from one person to a large company to remove challenges and barriers to growth. So what do we look like from a growth trajectory? What is, the population in our 2 regions? What's employment look like? So what I want to point out here is this is the actual line and the dotted line is the forecast. So overall, as a region, for our 2 counties, we're outperforming the rest of the state. So on average, we're looking at, we've had about a 5% population growth overall, and we're looking at 4% all the way out to 2026. Same thing with employment. Employment's maybe about 3%. COVID, honestly, that's the COVID dip. And so we're growing overall, and it's great. And if I were comparing myself to the state of Michigan, I'd be like, I'm killing it, right? Because the state of Michigan's 0.8% for growth, and we're between 4 and 5%. So we are outperforming the rest of the state in leading, but guess what? We don't compete with the rest of the state of Michigan. We compete with major communities throughout the country that our corporations are choosing where to locate jobs and investment. So I want to compare our 5% to, say, Nashville, Tennessee. Now, I don't want to grow as fast as Nashville, but they're seeing about a 13% growth rate. Indianapolis, 16% growth rate. And so those are some of the communities that we really compete with for jobs and investment. And so I want to make sure we continue to grow in the way that makes sense for us, and that we can continue to outperform the communities that we're competing with, not the rest of the state of Michigan. We love that we're leading the state, but we got to continue to push against those peers. So good news in terms of population and growth. So now I'm going to get into those key insights and trends. So for those of you who don't know, our team sits down with 120 business leaders every year, and we ask roughly 30 of the same questions in a very structured format. So this insight and feedback is actually real-time data of what our local businesses are saying. This slide before, that was economic data from national trends. So this is key insight that we have to share with you right today. Of the primary employers that we support in our 2 counties, there's 600. So this 120 is a good sample size, right? So we also look at these 120, they go from small business to large business, growing to not growing. There's a very structured process in terms of who gets the survey data. We meet with a lot more companies than that one-on-one, but this 120 is a true sample size of what our region looks like. So, what have we learned? What is going on? Well, overall, I would tell you, it's modest growth is what we're looking to see. Now, when we talk to our companies, we see the majority of them see increased sales and their major market is growing. So 96% of them said they're gonna have a stable market share. And 89% of them said they would increase sales overall. So that's really great. If we compare it to last year's data, it's quite similar in terms of how last year's data looks like. The one thing that is really unique overall about our region, of the 120 companies that we interviewed, 95% of them are locally owned. That's rare. That doesn't happen in a lot of regions. We grow our own here, and when I showed you that top 10 list, 6 of the 10 are actually homegrown businesses that started here. JR, great guy, Ken Essink, in a garage with a big idea, and now has grown it to one of our top 10 employers. And so we need to continue that innovation and that entrepreneurship because we can't really rely on attracting businesses in. It's really important that we continue to grow our own companies. And that's something that makes us so unique as a region. Secondly, another thing that is really unique is our investment in research and development and technology. So 77% of our companies plan to introduce new goods, new services, and new products. And on average, they spend about 6% on research and development. So what that means for me, that 6% is they're investing significantly in what's next. We're always evolving as a region, and that's really important. So when I get to look inside these businesses, I'm like, wow, the amount of investment in automation, technology, industry of things is incredible. I wish you all could see inside my lenses, and I need to work harder to get you a sneak peek inside those companies, but there's some fabulous things happening, and continuing that R&D investment is really gonna be the future. We need to make sure we're always evolving. We can't rest on our laurels, and we continue to see our companies doing that. When I talk about this 6% investment in R&D, can anyone guess what the number one investment is for R&D, technology? AI, that's a good one. It is not AI, it's actually cybersecurity. So that's when you have all of this technology and software, guess what? It opens you up to all kinds of cyber threats as well. And that's followed by automation, right? So automation, and then AI after that. So I think there's a couple of guys who are in cybersecurity in the room. Good news, you're gonna continue to have a lot of business. This is also another thing that I found really interesting. So in 2001, 83% of our companies had challenges with supply chain. 83% could not get the goods and products in here. Now it's down to 24%. So that's great. What does that mean? What that means for us overall, I think one, companies have onshored more products, so they are not worried about goods and services coming in. They've also implemented technology and redundant supply chain solutions as well. But that 24% for now looks good, right? But there's a lot of things out there that can make it go up and down. So some of you may have seen the recent port strikes that happened as well. That could have stopped all goods and services coming into the East Coast. That's kind of out there. We have a lot of threats that when you're bringing things in internationally, like pirates, actually in the Suez Canal. For those of you who don't know, there are actually pirates who are taking over these large shipping containers, and the threat of China and Taiwan. So there's a lot of reasons why I think that number may go up over time, but if you are a manufacturer, making sure your supply chain is in place and bringing as much as you can back here is gonna be important to support that domestic market. Now, number one, this is actually fun too, so talent. We're hearing less about talent challenges and issues. So last year, 65% of our companies said they could not find the talent they need. Now it is down to 54%. So that's good. It's trending in the right direction, but the majority of our businesses can't fill their existing positions, and the hardest to find right now are engineering, anything in engineering. If you have a kid who could be an engineer, wants to be an engineer, tell them to be an engineer. And then number two, skilled trades. Anything skilled trades. So that's really machinists, CNC, production operators. So talent continues to be the issue. Now, I have something to share, and it won't be surprising to many of you. Your talent challenges will continue over time. So by 2030, 25% of the US workforce will be at retirement age. And we're not replacing that with the number of people entering it. People are having less kids and babies. And so really to fix this, we need to figure out a way to reform immigration to allow more people to come in legally because, or attract people from other states and regions. So it's really important. It's also really important that we continue to do this, opening up our manufacturing shops, allowing kids to see what it's like to be a machinist or a CNC operator. Great jobs, great opportunities here locally. So this is the big one right now, growth. Are we going to grow, right? That's next 3 years, are we gonna grow? That's another key item that we look at all the time. So 41% of companies say they're going to expand in the next 3 years, which is great, right? 41%, that's awesome. They don't say they're gonna expand here. We just ask them if they're gonna expand, right? And I'm gonna go into the next one so you can see our competition. We also, interesting enough, the average size of the investment this year is 18.7 million. That's the expansion the next 3 years. Last year it was 8 million. So it's a $10 million average spike. Why? And this is us diving deeper. They're investing a lot more in automated products, cybersecurity, things that are big cost centers, because the talent in the population just isn't there to meet the needs. On average, the job creation, about 9 jobs, that's about the same as last year, and looking at about a 31,000 square feet expansion. So, are they going to expand here? Maybe. So look at this. A quarter of our businesses that we interviewed have facilities in other states. Everything that is blue is a location of a local company that also has a location there. So our businesses have choices. I see JR sitting in front of me, so I'm gonna pick on them. So I had a great chance, in a good way, I had a great chance to visit your Nashville location. You also have locations near Spartanburg, South Carolina, Detroit. So anytime JR decides where to locate or where to grow, they look at all their different locations and say, what's the workforce like? What's the tax base like? What's the community like? What's our existing team like? So it is a very competitive process when we're looking for growth. And we need to recognize our employers have choices, and we want to continue to make this region be the region of choice. So competition is fierce, but our job is to make sure that we win when it makes sense. So finally, barriers and best practices. There are barriers, of course, there always will be barriers. So number one, I'm sure you guys would have guessed this, right? Number one, labor shortage, but it's getting better, right, Amanda? It's getting better, it's going down. And why it's getting better, I would say it's a direct correlation with our companies investing significantly in labor solutions. So it's not just about wages, right? Everyone's like, okay, we gotta increase wages. No, it's our employers investing in training, college reimbursement, flexibility in schedules. Many of them are offering volunteer days off, community commitment. So we see some of the best-in-class perspectives from our employers to drive to meet those labor demands. And so, in fact, overall, we've seen a significant increase in the investment by our employers in labor, in not only wages, but all the other things too. So what's the secret? Well, there's not a perfect secret for labor shortage, but one thing I will tell you, and our educators know this really well, each individual employee should have an individual growth plan. They need to know where they're going in that company, 5 years, 10 years, and coming alongside, especially your high-performing young leaders and helping them succeed will help you really retain that workforce. So there's a couple examples I wanted to throw out there. There's Noah and Transmatic and Paul at Plascor. So Noah actually was a graduate of the Career Line Tech Center in skilled trades. Transmatic identified him right away as someone they wanted to work with. They paid for him to go through training at Grand Rapids Community College. Even when he was being educated, he was getting paid the fee. And they worked with him to allow him to continue to grow. Now, Noah is an ambassador for Transmatic. He tells all of his friends, anyone with any kind of mechanical aptitude, this is the place you've got to be. They've invested in me, I have no debt, and he's making a very high salary as a machinist right here. So that's Noah. Paul is actually in the supply chain department at Plascor. Paul's from Illinois area, Chicago area, and saw a job near the Lakeshore at Plascor, and he's like, hey, we vacationed there as a kid. I'm gonna check this out. He knew nothing about Plascor. Plascor is an aerospace manufacturer. And again, the same thing with Paul. When he came here, it was really important for him to have quality of life, to have work-life balance. So one of the things Paul will say is, what I love about Plascor is it's hybrid. I can have half the time in the office, half the time working where I want, and the cost of living is significantly lower than it is in Chicago. He wants a house with a bigger yard that he can actually afford, and so Paul, again, is a great ambassador for this region because he tried it as a vacation as a kid, and now he sees the cost of living are great. But it's that flexibility. Paul also has an individual growth plan, one-on-one every year of how he gets to where he wants to go. And that's what we'll have to do to combat the labor challenges today. So Paul and Noah, thank you to Plascor and Transmatic, and there's many other examples of those best practices. So second barrier, housing, right? Not a surprise. And it's housing at all price points, right? It's not just workforce housing. We work really closely with all of our great housing developers and builders. What we're seeing right now, at least in Ottawa County, you probably need about 8,000 housing units. The last year in 2023, we have about 1,500 started. So there's great strides forward as it relates to housing and increasing that housing supply. And we've got some great people in each county working on it. In Ottawa County, we really look to Housing Next, who works with developers to make the math work. So they are a great organization if you have not engaged in them, and they're also leading regional strategies for implementing state tax tools that are brand new. There is a revolving loan fund, a $30 million revolving loan fund that Ottawa County and the state of Michigan helped to put in place for housing. And then in Allegan Community Foundation, the Community Foundation came forward and they just recently hired a full-time person in housing. So there are strides forward there. There's new resources, new tools, and many of our local units of government are looking at those new tools and seeing if they make sense for them. But the one thing I really wanted to shout out is some great partnerships between housing development organizations. So Habitat for Humanity and Jubilee, who are actually a chamber winner, what they did is they worked together on a development that is for the housing demand right now. So it is small houses, condos, not just single homes. So seeing these two great nonprofits pair together and continue to develop for what makes sense for the future of the market, that's a phenomenal best practice that's happening here. And there's many more. So this groundbreaking was actually Midwest Construction recently, who are building a new affordable unit development in Holland Township. They're one of the first to receive a $4 million housing revolving loan fund. And so if you talk to Scott Geerlings from Midwest, it's taken about 3 years of planning to get to this project because housing for workforce housing is really challenging, but there's some great strides forward in the housing space, and we expect more to come. And then the third challenge is really limited industrial space. So we have these 600 great manufacturers who are growing, and for the last 6 years, the industrial vacancy has been 3%, which is so low. We've seen a few speculative developments, but it's risky to build a speculative manufacturing product. And so we were really happy that our partners from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation have come forward with $50 million for site readiness funds. So in our region, which is all of West Michigan, we're going to receive about $1.8 million to redevelop about 800 acres of new sites. Now, when I say redevelop, it's prepare. It's doing the initial engineering, site work, getting it ready, because when our companies want to expand, existing or new, they usually want to do it in the next 6 months. And guess what? The average time for building a new industrial space is about 18 months. So some of the work that we're doing on these sites throughout the region is getting them ready so we can cut the 18 months maybe down to 9 months or 12 months as well, to kind of get these major sites up and running so we can prepare for the future of growth. So Amanda Murray, who's here from our team, is happy to talk to you if you have anyone who wants to take advantage of these funds. We'll be releasing more details on each one of the sites to help you market and grow that space. So that's it for me. I talked about the diverse economy, the growth. We're going to see moderate growth in 2024 and some great strides forward and barriers to growth. If you want to know more about this data or information, I'm going to ask Amanda to stand up right here. She's going to get hustled. There's Amanda. Yay, Amanda. So Amanda and her business solutions team really lead all of the data collection, but also work side by side with our employers that are growing. So we've got time for Q&A, but I wanted to mention on the way out the door, you'll actually be the first ones to receive the copy of our business intelligence report. And let me tell you, there's a whole lot more data in there than what I touched on today. So that's it. Britt, you coming up? Get some questions? Great, thank you.
Yeah, we do have a few minutes. We've got a few minutes for questions. So yeah, Dana.
Yeah, great question, Dana. I think that's really interesting. It's, if you are a company who, say, makes office furniture, that's not something that's going to resonate with a young professional. So we have a lot more companies thinking about, so with office furniture, we make the seating surfaces that will power the nation and international economy. So the why is so important, especially for young professionals. It's the why I come to work every day. The difference that I make. It's also equally important to allow volunteer time and giving back and getting engaged in the community. That's something we've been really good at for a long time, but I want to re-encourage employers to allow your workforce to volunteer and give back and get engaged. In your philanthropic giving, what's your priorities and how is it driven by your workforce? Because that's all part of the why. You have to have more than we just make office furniture, and to engage the next generation. So thank you.
Yeah, and shameless plug for Community Impact Day, May 14, hey? So get your people out. We make it easy for you. You just have to sign up and show up, and we do the rest. So yeah, community engagement is so important. Any other questions? Yeah, Becca.
Great job, Jennifer.
Thank you.
The 41% growth that we're going to see, which is exciting, can you talk a little bit more about the lack of available space, though, either what businesses can do or government to address some of that lack of industrial space?
Yeah, I think she asked about what you can do to address the lack of industrial space. I think what businesses can do is if you think you're going to expand and grow, it's never too early to start planning. right? I think all too often companies wait until they have a contract and then they're like, oh, we thought we could expand here, but we can't. So the more you can do analysis of the land that you have right now to expand on that you think is ready to go, the better. I would say 18 months to 2 years out. So one, plan, pull our team in early. We are also seeing a lot more challenges than ever before with our Department of Environmental Quality. Items that we thought, land that we thought weren't wetlands are. Travis Williams from ODC is a great resource for that. So there are some unexpected items that come up, so the more you can plan, the better. What local government can do is really look at where you want to see growth in the community and identify that right away. Where are your growth pockets? Where do you want housing? Where do you see the growth of industrial? We started to take this survey data to our community partners, something similar. So we're sharing the manufacturing data, but we're also going to have community data as well, where we're asking our communities, how do you want to grow? Where are your pockets? So working with our communities to identify those growth areas, and quite frankly, what you don't want, right? I would never want to come to a company or community and be like, you love this giant company, right? No. So we also need to spend a lot of time learning with our local units of government where they want to see growth, what they're not interested in, and be aligned with that. Thank you.
All right, we have time for one, maybe two more, if there's anyone else.
Oh.
Yep. And one over here.
Talked about the growth in this area of manufacturing and all that, and we want to compete not with Michigan, but around the country. And a lot of those big metro areas are having growth, not in manufacturing, but like high tech and healthcare and professional services. So what do you see there, like in terms of how do we compete with that so we can get like the Amazon headquarters or more high tech jobs here?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we worked really closely with our partners at The Right Place on making our region a top 10 tech hub. And if you look at the data right now, we're nowhere near there. But the technology to have the tech hub is engineering is a key part of that technology as well. Where I think we have more work to do, and I'm very excited about Grand Valley starting a focus on computer and software programming, because that's an area of growth. When you look at the future of engineering, software engineers are going to be a lot more needed for this region if we want to attract and retain the future of talent. We also have a very diverse entrepreneurial support system, and a lot of our entrepreneurs are in computer development, software technology as well. So I think the next generation is good, but we have more work to do in growing that future technical talent.
Great, thank you. And I think we had one more over here, and that'll be what I saw.
What resources are available for startups looking to tap into the exporting market?
So the exporting market, that's a good one. And this is for startups or really for any company that is a small business, and small business by SBA standards is less than 500 employees, which that's not really that small to me, but that's the SBA. There is a program called the Michigan My Step, and it basically provides a grant, a 50% matching grant, to pay for international trips, to pay for your website to be redone in another language, to help you connect directly with those markets. So that is through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation's export offices. I also think another great resource is the Van Andel Global Trade Institute. We're hearing a lot about import-export and the challenges with import tariffs. They're based out of Grand Valley, and that is another really strong resource for a company perspective to engage with. They do all kinds of training and education, like doing business with Taiwan, doing business with China. They also can develop a free trade program as well for you around your business to allow you to have less import taxes. So those are My Step and Van Andel Global Trade Institute are great for any small business to take advantage of. Thank you.
Yeah, great questions this morning. Thank you. Join me again in thanking Jennifer. These are fantastic insights. So thank you, Jennifer, to you and your team, Amanda, for leading the charge on all of this. I know it's a huge undertaking, but it matters. And so it's really important that we have these insights and we can use this data to drive forward. So thank you. Please also join me again in thanking our sponsors this morning, AAC Credit Union and JR Automation. We could not do this without them. And to wrap up today, we're just going to watch a brief video to highlight our Wake Up West Coast for November 12. We have Topsy Vandenbosch joining us, and she will be talking about our unique leadership journeys. So another leadership topic here, but we'd like you to get a sneak peek. So please join me in watching this video.
West Coast Chamber of Commerce friends. My name is Topsy Vandenbosch, and I'm an emotional intelligence and psychological safety consultant and licensed therapist. And I am so thrilled to have the opportunity to join you on Tuesday, November 12th, 2024, for an empowering session on escaping the comparison trap by embracing your unique leadership journey. In our social media-driven world, it is all too easy to fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others. But here's the truth. Your leadership journey is yours and yours alone. In this transformative workshop, I will share personal insights and give you practical strategies and tools to help you break free from the comparison cycle and embrace your authentic leadership path. You'll discover the hidden psychological factors driving comparison, learn to cultivate self-compassion, and you'll also walk away with 5 powerful exercises to stay grounded in your unique journey. I can't wait to help you uncover your true leadership potential on Tuesday, November 12th. I'll see you there.
All right, so hopefully you will all be back here on November 12th to join us with Topsy. And thank you all for being here today. It matters that you show up. So thank you for being here for our community and for making these valuable connections. It's what makes our community special. So thank you again and have a remarkable day.